Hey guys, you are looking at part 2 of complex roads in Houdini. In this tutorial we are going to look at geometry creation and placement. We will look at some of the options we have to create and populate roads. I will be talking about how to place objects, and in the end we will construct a road which is supported by pillars. So let's place down a geometry, delete the file, place down a head. First we're going to start with understanding orientation attributes. So Houdini has a few basic ones. It has the rotation attributes, which are fairly often used. But I want to focus on using the normal and the up attribute to work inside of Houdini. So for this we're going to create one point, and this point is basically going to be our explanation point. Right now it doesn't have any attributes, it's just a single point. So let's open our geometry spreadsheet for this. And you can see it's nothing, only position at 0, 0, 0. Now, let's place an attribute create and give it some attributes. Let's start with a normal. And the normal, we're going to give it a value of 1 in the third one into the z direction. So if we look at that, yeah, that works. And let's do another attribute create, one for the up vector. We call it up, and this one is going, well, into the y direction. So we cannot see it right now, but we can create a nice little null node for that. So this is a very nice thing. Go into your go to the little cog, add visualizer, add a marker, and let's change this one to be the one from our normal. Use the normal attribute. I want the color to be blue because that's the same as direction. And let's do the same thing for the up attribute. Alright. So basically do the same thing for the up attribute. Select the up attribute and change the color to be green. Alright. Now also make sure it is a vector instead of a type text. And let's change the color from our normal to be blue. All right, remove the origin in the middle. This is our basic orientation attribute. So just imagine you would be sticking a pen in an apple. Like with one pen in the apple, you can still rotate the apple around the axis of the pen, but if you stick in another one, then suddenly it cannot rotate anymore. That's the same with these two orientation attributes. When you have two of those vectors, you basically have the orientation of your object. Now let's visualize this with a copy to points. Let's place it, and let's grab a pig head as our object. The points go into the right and the object goes into the left. Let's disable those normals. Also make sure that you have no attributes copying towards your object with the copy to points. Let's activate our textures for making it look cool. Alright, so this is our pig head. And right now you cannot see really any difference because, well, our point is at the 0, 0 location and our orientation attributes haven't been rotated at all. So let's see what happens when we transform our point and not the pig head. As you can see, we now rotate the head without actually rotating in the head itself. We are rotating the point, which you can see over here. If I go to my little null node, you can see I'm rotating this point with its two vectors. And well, the pig head is just placed on top of those points. So now you can see it very nicely. Okay, so those are orientation attributes. That's very important to know. This little null node, we're gonna color this one red. I'm gonna use this a little bit more often to explain some stuff. Let's give it a nice shape. And let's go on towards the geometry creation. All right, so place down a curve. We wanna create a simple road so we can work with something. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but we do want it to go up at a certain point. And we want it to be kind of straight at the beginning, so make it something like this. So overall it's kind of flat, and then it goes up and it goes down again. Yeah, okay, so now that's perfect. Now, let us first place a sample so we can create a nice smooth curve with the subdivision curves. Alright, and now here we're gonna place a polyframe. So the first thing we do when we are working with roads in Houdini is first to clean up our input curve. Now to do this we can place down a polyframe, and this is going to add a normal to our points. I want to use the tangent name and set this one to n. What you will see right now is that there are normals created which are following the curve, and that's exactly what we want. So this is one of our two orientation attributes. Now the second one we're going to create is an up attribute. Let's place down a point wrangle and write in at at up.y equals 1. And if we now grab our null again, you can see nice attributes being created. Nice little orientation attributes. Now, let's call this example orientation attribute. Let's do the first simple thing first, and that's creating a road paving using a sweep. Place down a sweep. Also, a nice little trick is if you place down an object merge, and then you can drag this thing in there. And right now, these two are basically connected. It's the same thing. Only this one doesn't have the visualizer of our little null. But it doesn't matter. Now, also a thing I really like to do is if when you go to View, and you go to your dependency links, and you do show for selected nodes. Right now I know also, okay, so this object merge gets its information from this null. Nice. Now I can use this curve to input it into the sweep. And now let's place down a line. Inside of this line we are going to set the direction towards its x value. Then we are going to copy the length, paste it into the origin, multiply it with minus 0.5, and we're going to drag this into the sweep. Then we go to the sweep, make sure that there are no weird attributes going towards our geometry, and make sure that we have some nice... And oh yeah, of course, don't forget to turn off the remove back faces. Right now we don't really care about those. So go to your sweep, then scan unclosed, and here we have our geometry, our road. So first little trick you can do here is to place a refine node. I personally really love this one. Used to do this in Vex, but that was just not that easy. And right now you just make sure that the first U and the second U are set to 0 and 1. So we are selecting the entire curve. And then we go to unrefine, and this is our tolerance in the U direction. And this means that we are going to get the least amount of primitives for the highest amount of detail. And that's what we want. We don't want that many primitives, and we want to have all the detail possible. So set it to the value you like most. For this one it doesn't matter that much, so I'll just leave it at this value. And for now let's just place one normal beneath it, so we are sure that our geometry has normals for if we're going to merge it down later with some other stuff. Okay, then I would like to place another null node. This null node is going to be called, this one is going to be called out road paving. And let's change the shape of it because I like it, and also the color to purple. I usually use the two colors purple and red to be very clear about this is an example and this is an out node for later usages of the object merge, for example. Alright, now let's place down, let's copy this object merge again. Because right now we are going to create the railings of the roads, the fences. And to do this we need our original curve with its attributes, its orientation attributes, and we are gonna displace the curve using those. So place down a point wrangle, and in the point wrangle let's type vector side. This is our side vector we're gonna be creating. Then we're gonna take the cross product of the normal and the up vector. And then we are going to offset our point. Then we're going to offset our position using the side attribute, multiplied with a width value. Okay, so let's check this little button again. Create spare parameters, and now we have a nice width value. You can already see that we're offsetting our curve. Let's copy this one over. And let's copy this width value into the second one. And let's make this a negative value. Alright, then place down a merge. And you can see we now have two lines containing all our rotation attributes, and we have a nice value to make a width. And basically, let's copy over this the previous node and place it in here so we are sure that we have the right orientation attributes. Let's change the name to double curve. And now let's place some object on these curves. So place another object merge. Drag in our example double curve. Place down a resample. And let's create a nice little geometry block. I already have one. It's a really simple one. You can use whatever you want. And let's place down a copy to points. Wherein the points to the right and the object to the left. And here you can see our object being placed on the two curves. Now, this resample value, the length value, can be a little bit larger. Also, our width value can also be quite a bit larger. Let's set it to 3. Alright, that's looking better already. Then going to our resample, let's make the length a little bit longer. And alright, yeah, I like this. So you can see here, there's one thing that I really don't like, and that is that these objects are being rotated also vertically. And that's not what I want. I want them to be straight up and only rotate in their y-axis. So how can we do this? There's a nice little trick to do that. For this, I like to go into point VOPs, because whenever you're going to play with orientation attributes, sometimes you want to use noises, and the moment I start using noises, or I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, I like to play in VOPs because it's very easy to iterate between two different values. So let's go into the point VOP. Let's place down a cross product. Also place down a bind. We're going to get the up attribute. This is a vector, and wire in the normal plus the up attribute. Now let's go into the normal and let's show the normals. You can right now see that the normal has changed from going to following the curve to going sideways. So now you need to place another cross product, and we're going to wire in our result with our up vector. And this is what we're going to wire into normal. So if you look at this, you can see them. Okay, it's not very clear now. Okay, let's also negate this one so it goes into the right direction. Alright, now you can see it a little bit better. Over here you can see the original normal pointing a little bit upwards and pointing downwards. And now you can see they're all going exactly straight. And that's a nice trick of using a double cross product. You could also do this in many different ways. I like this one because I feel like I have a lot of control. So, but yeah, feel free to do whatever you want. And let's wire this into the copy to points. So now you can see that my object is oriented nice and straight up. And that's what I want. If I would disable this one, you can see they are going not straight up anymore. And that's not what I want. So let's leave it at this. Let's place another null node to make sure that we know that this is our final product. And call this fence support block. Now let's copy this object merge and place it down again. Let's copy down, let's copy the refine node also. So we're sure we have the smallest amount of primitives when we are going to do this. Right now we are going to create the railing. For this, grab your original two curves and place down a copy node, a copy and transform. Wire it in. And let's make a wireframe of our previous work. Then in the copy node, translate a little bit up, and let's add 3 copies of it. Alright, then I want to place another transform. And with this transform, we are going to move it a little bit up. Okay, that's nice. Now there are a few different ways what you can do next. You could use a sweep to create the rating for this, but I really like the polywire. It's a simple thing. I don't have a high need for textures or anything right now, which is also nice with the polywire. It also creates UVs for you. But if you are really into the UVs and you want to be sure what you're creating, then it might be better to use the sweep. Right now we are going to use the polywire. Alright, I like to set the divisions to 5, a nice low amount, and let's make the wires 0.033. Alright, now this one has weird normals at the moment, so let's add normals. Make sure there are smooth normals, so it looks like a nice round edge. And let's, for visual purposes, let's merge these two together to see how it looks. I think I made the road a little bit too small, so I'm going back to my initial curve. And this is just the awesome thing of Houdini. So I can just iterate on what I've been making, I can change it, and it doesn't really matter that much for the road itself. So let's make it a little bit larger. And when I'm changing these road sizes, let me talk a little bit about what I'll be doing next. Next up, we're going to create the foundation for these fences, and after that we are going to focus on the pillar. The pillar is one of the more difficult ones because it requires a lot of different types of orientation attributes, so that will be a very interesting one. Let's delete this merge. Let's place another out node, which is just basically a null, and let's call this fence railing. Now let's create the support foundation of these fences. Grab the object merge again, copy it over, also copy the refine, then place down a grid and a sweep. Then the curve goes in the middle part, that's the backbone, and then we have our grid. Set the rows to 2, set the columns to 2, and the size can be a lot smaller. And now we're going to change it to the XY plane. And we want our sweep to not output any attributes. And it needs to be skin unclosed or any of the other ones. And let's place a normal node after this to make sure we have nice normals. Now let's change the size of the grid a little bit. It can be a little bit more narrow. It can also be smaller. And also, okay, alright, I think it looks fine. And now let's place a polycap. So, this is the basics. So first let's place the normal after the polyfill. And this is the basic foundation. Then place another out node. And let's call it fence foundation. Alright, we already created our fences. First we need to determine which part of the road is going to be supported by pillars. We only want the high pieces to be supported by pillars, so let's create a condition for that. Let's grab the object merge of our original line. That was this one, as you can see. Let's also make sure we don't see anything else. Let's copy it over to the side. First place down a convert line. Place down a color node and set it to primitives. And I wanted to create blue primitives. So that's nice and clear. Now place down a primitive wrangle. We're going to create an if condition that states if the y value is too high, is higher than our channel value, called height. Then we are going to set the color value of red to 1. Okay, so right now everything is kind of purplish, which is fine. We just need to select this button again, and now we have a basic slider to determine which pieces will be supported. Alright, let's do something like this. Now place down a delete node, and we're going to be deleting all of our blue pieces, which is deleting by expression at cd.r equals 0. And now you can see we only have our top part left, which is exactly what we want. It's not a nice primitive anymore. As you can see, there are tons of tiny primitives, and that's not what we want. We want it to be one nice primitive, so place down a polypath to fix this. And as you can see, now we have one nice primitive again. Let's delete the color, so we don't get too many attributes accumulate, so we don't have a massive geometry spreadsheet. You want to have the smallest amount of attributes in your geometry spreadsheet, so everything is nice and clean, and you can see what you're doing. So place down the attribute delete, and let's delete the color of the primitives. Now we're going to place down a resample. In this resample, the length will determine the distance between the pillars. So let's say something like 5 meters. And now let's place another out node. And let's call this curve pillar. Place another object merge and throw in the object and the out pillar. So the pillar is a very interesting one, because right now we want it to have different heights depending on how high the road is. So we have 5 points at the moment. Let's place an add node to delete the primitive. Delete geometry but keep points. And let's place a grid which is going to be our terrain. Could be any terrain. Right now we have just a grid. It's easy to make. And let's set this size to huge. And place down a ray. Write them in. And the method is set to rays. That's nice. And it needs to be a vector, delete channel, and it needs to be a -1 direction in the y direction. Alright. Then it needs to transform points. And that's basically it. And you can place down a merge just to have a nice visual over it. And you can see we have our the points we want. Okay, we need to connect these points, and to do that we can place down a add node and set this add node to skip every nth point. And this needs to be 5, but it's different for every case, so it can't be 5, but it needs to reference to itself. So type in endpoints and let it refer to the add to node. And there we go. Straight lines going down. Now you can do whatever you want with this. Make your own pillar, the pillar you like. I'm going to create a very simple pillar for this by first placing a copy to points. I will do it by placing some boxes. Make very flat boxes. Okay, so you can see right now they are still having the wrong orientation attributes. So we can just copy over the little trick we did before using the cross product. And let's make sure you set it on the points, because the points have the orientation attributes and we're using the copy to points to transform our original box. Alright. And let's give them some normals. Now let's use a polywire to create the rest of the pillar. Also give them some normals. And let's merge these together. Alright, that's the first basic stuff of the pillar, but we need to learn a little bit more about this. So let's place another object merge. Place another copy to points. Wire in our curve. And place a box. Okay, for this one I do want this attribute, which is a very nice addition because we already have it. Make sure it is normals. And let's merge these two together. Alright, let's bring the original pillar down a little bit. And let's look at this thing. So right now it looks kind of okay. But what if you need to transform this box? If you would place it just down the box, you will be transforming it down and then rotating it, which would be looking kind of weird, especially when you have a very, very steep angle. Then it wouldn't be sitting right on top of it anymore. But we do want it to be right on top. So make sure you place the transform on your original curve. So the original curve is transformed up and down, as you can see right here. Because that way it will always be straight upon the pillar, which is exactly what we want. Now, finally, place another copy to points, and let's place a little sphere to decorate it a little bit more. And let's copy over the sphere, make it a polygon, and let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's also give it some normals. And let's merge this as well. Transform it a little bit more down. And for this, you can see it as the same issue. So let's make sure that we have our transform connected towards the curve and not the object itself. All right, let's see how this looks with all the other ones. So for now, just let's place a nice merge. We can have a look at everything we have. We have our foundation with all our other stuff. So we need those three. Throw them in there and also throw this in there. All right, that's looking okay already. Now we need our original road paving as well. So let's throw it in there. That width is way too low, so let's make it a little bit higher. And now we can see what we need to adjust. Those are sticking out a little bit too much. So let's transform those down together with the original pillar. All right. And that was basically it for this tutorial. This was part 2 of complex roads in Houdini. I'm going to make it look a little bit better, so there's a nice and clean scene file for you guys to download. And as always, we hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, follow us online for more cool game dev stuff. For now, this was Dokai. Bye bye.